right, so we're going to move on to a discussion about the Game Awards.
Yes.
So this one's kind of a a critics discussion, but it'll help us kind of like start the discussion from thegamer.com. I'm going to go ahead and read through this and then we can discuss. So it says, I'm normally indifferent about the Game Awards, knowing all the biggest and most predictable games each year will be nominated, while smaller titles go underappreciated due to how the selection process works. But there are often a few rare exceptions seeping through the cracks, deserved gems getting their time in the sun alongside the big boys. We aren't seeing that this year, and it's become abundantly clear that beyond the expected picks, this is a marketing showcase first and foremost that doesn't care about the medium. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring, and a small selection of indies swept the majority of categories, so much so that on the night we'll likely see only a few select games pick up all awards at all. Best Indie and Debut Indie are filled with most of the same games, so much so that bangers like I Was a Teenage Exocolonist and Somerville are missing out on spots altogether. Not that it matters because the selection process is busted.
Why is
Okay.
that story related?
What?
Uh,
4 years ago, a cartoon called Shiro changed my gay little life. What?
um, I'm sorry.
I don't know
Why
what you're
would
talking
a
about right
why
now.
would a why
Oh,
would a game
There's
be
an
named
ad.
I Was a
I don't know why
Teenage
that's a related
Exorcist?
story.
It's in the document.
That is the weirdest name of a game in entire of the history of naming your game.
yeah. Anyway, many games dominating nominations aren't necessarily the best ones, but those from major studios or the usual blockbusters mixed with modest efforts that dominated social media discussion for a brief period of time. God of War Ragnarok hasn't been out for a week, so critics don't know, or who didn't review it wouldn't have had a chance to judge its merits, especially when it comes to narrative and performances. Horizon Forbidden West is painfully mid, and as predictable as sequels can get, while Elden Ring is incredible, but it's also the obvious choice that outlets are going to pick out of controversial inertia alone. There was no way it wasn't going to sweep this event, but it was still bested by Ragnarok somehow. I just didn't expect the playing field to be this underwhelming, but the only ones we have to blame are ourselves and our lack of consideration for wider content in the industry. For what it's worth, we weren't on the TGA jury this year, but the breakup between us and Jeff Kylie, I don't know, Kaylee, wasn't exactly messy. He didn't return our calls. I'm going to skip over this. Da-da-da. Prestige wins over quality, and that's a tragic damnation of where our industry is at right now. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and A Plague Tale Requiem are all up for Game of the Year, and all of them are third-person narrative blockbusters that take heavy influence from both The Last of Us and open world templates that have grown derivative over the past few years. Not saying they're bad, nor undeserving of praise, but the fact that we have decided these three and a few actually worthwhile nominees are the best we're capable of as an industry instead of applying real, tangible critique to their boons and shortcomings suggests we have only ourselves to blame for what the Game Awards have become. It's an occasion in service of this medium instead of celebrating it, advocating far more for the next big release than those responsible for creating them. Awards are given off screen to make way for big trailers and world premieres, like the trophies are handed off with disdain so Kaylee can keep lining his pockets with gold. So he says, take Stray, for example. It's a perfectly solid experience, but we're far more interested in talking about how cute its central character was and the ways in which our real world felines reacted to it instead of talking about its gameplay and narrative. Tunic is also brilliant, but the conversation largely revolved around it being a Zelda clone. It's like so many of us didn't play enough games and were presented with a slew of categories to fill, so settled for clutching at straws with little regard for who ends up being on the ballot. I could be here for ages listing out games that were snubbed or why the oversaturation of many or so many categories speaks to our inability to consume media properly as critics because we are still so stuck within the mindset of a consumer ready to stand up for marketing hype. Games are bigger than ever, and there are more of them out there than ever too, with ample services like Xbox Game Pass allowing independent gems and lower budget gems to shine on a similar level to their blockbuster contemporaries. Even with all this progress, they remain ignored, and the Game Awards won't change until we're willing to analyze and uproot the system ourselves. So, what do we think? Do we think that.
Well,
I mean, Game Awards are bullshit, anyways. Like,
Right.
Well, what about the music reward for game music? They're both
That's
equal.
the Grammys. This is just Game Awards.
I know, but is it not?
I mean,
yeah, it's still the same thing. It still supports the games. Though.
any award show within like published media, I think, is kind of.
I mean, it just literally does make me think about like marketing hype, where basically like I heard about Metal Gear remake and people were hype about that. That does make me think about that. But however, like games like that do get praise, and the reason why Elder Rings get praise because everybody loves Souls games all the time. So
Yeah,
I can, yeah, it's kind of what's going on with Call of Duty as well. It's just because, like, for example, because Call of Duty, the franchise has been like a gaming giant for such a long time, and then in my opinion, I want to say Call of Duty did start to slide down in quality. I want to say probably I want to say at pretty much after they released Infinite Warfare, because Infinite Warfare did not do good, and not to mention even when the trailer for that game got released, it was already like just getting just mudslang, and people were just shitting all over that game. Like it wasn't even released officially;
Yeah.
it was just a leak of a trailer, and it was already getting just bombarded with just negative comments. I played the game myself. I didn't think the game wasn't great, but it wasn't shitty as people were making it out to be. The zombies mode, they had a zombies mode, which I thought was a little why a zombies mode? Because a lot of the number one, because number one, because due to the success of Treyarch making the zombies mode such a huge success with World at War, Black Ops 1, and then arguably the GOAT, Black Ops 2, Infinity War and Sledgehammer Games, those are the other two collaborators that work with Activision to create the other Call of Duty games. Like Infinite Warfare, I think was made by Infinity Ward, I believe is who they collaborate with, because Advanced Warfare was with Sledgehammer, and they also had a zombies too called Exo Zombies. Now that one, I actually liked it. I actually did like it, but was it great? No, I did lose interest into the that game after a certain amount of time. But however, it wasn't bad. But I think what the thing here is the derivative of other successful games, like with like The Last of Us, or like the third world, like or the third person narrative games.
Yeah.
They're starting to go through what Call of Duty did with first person shooters, and then also with zombies being such a huge success. Now they're zombie clones, and they're not even trying to be original. They're saying, "Hey, look, zombies. You guys like zombies, right? You know, pow pow shoot shoot shoot. That's what you like to do, right? Well,
Right.
I mean, that's 20% of the reason why Treyarch Zombies was good. It was because the maps were innovative, the characters were fun to play as. There was a lot of cool weapons that they put just for zombies, like the the iconic ray gun. But see, Infinite Warfare and Advanced Warfare, they didn't do that. They didn't. They had a couple of cool weapons here and there, sure, but was it anything iconic and outside the box like the ray gun was, or the shrinking ray one that was in Shangri-La, or the cryo gun from 5, and what was the other one? Ascension. No, they didn't make any weapons like that at all. And if they did such a really puke job of trying to create a weapon like that, and just be like, hey, can I copy off your homework? Yeah, but just don't make it look obvious. That's kind of what the case is here. And then now we're starting to get, now Call of Duty is now falling into the fad with another reason why I hate Fortnite. Fortnite created a standard that is solely based on paying for shit. And that's why people are getting frustrated with Call of Duty because starting with I want to say it started with Call of Duty Black Ops 4, but it wasn't as bad as it is with Call of Duty Vanguard and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
I mean,
While I loved Cold War,
if
and
you want
while I
to, if
love
you want to blame anybody for paid DLC for like equipment, blame Steam or Valve because
Yeah.
they're the ones that really started the black market for trading hats and Team Fortress. But
Right.
But yeah, it's just yeah, and I mean they fall into the fat of that, and I personally hated that too. I mean, and a lot of times my issue with the two is not only have they fallen with the fat with that, they didn't even try to be original at the in the process either. Because like I remember like in Call of Duty Black Ops 2 days, you could get a calling card, a camo for your gun that would work on not just one weapon like it does with the current Call of Duty games. Now it works with all types of weapons. It also gives you a new rectile for your scopes that you can customize. So you got so many things with it for like $3 a piece. Now what they're doing now is you would get a custom skin for your character, an exclusive like it's called a Mastercraft, which was debuted in Black Ops 4, but now it's more prevalent now because it was kind of cool. The Mastercrafts were kind of cool in Black Ops 4, but then again, now it's falling into that same trend that now because it's become such a success, now they're just making shameless, obvious clones of its successor and completely taking the fun out of the game itself. And not to mention, the themes look like they just went with the status quo. Like there was like clown based things. I'm like, there's so freaking many. And then there was this theme, and like they even put anime into Black Ops Cold War. They had anime themed like camos and skins and shit like that. I'm like,
Well,
why would you even do that? Anime
well, I'm
didn't
just
even
saying,
exist back in that time.
the developer's incentive isn't to. So the biggest problem with games these days, especially multiplayer games specifically, is this kind of incentive, this massive incentive for developers to make cosmetics over enjoyable gameplay. Like, I'm just saying, I get
Right.
that those are different teams very often, but I still
Mm-hmm.
am just saying that, like, as soon as it seems like to me, and I don't know what the, a normal kind of, workflow or whatever it is for a large AAA studio game, but it seems like to me that, like, once the base game gets finished, the people who like do the back end gameplay type stuff, they're just like, all right, well, time to move to DLC because that's the next thing we can work on that's going to get us money, instead of just like moving to like just a completely different game and then give a completely different gameplay experience. They're just going to move to DLC, which is going to be the same rough gameplay experience, but just in a different world or
how
maybe
can we
slightly
squeeze
different
as much money out of
characters. You
this
know what I mean?
cash cow as we
Like, there's
can?
not the innovation like there used to be. It feels stale
Mm-hmm.
and almost griftery. Like, it's almost like they're grifting for money any way they possibly can, and I hate the industry for doing that. I mean,
Dude,
and
if there's a way for them to find like some untapped piece of their product that they could make more money out
well, they
of,
fucking
like
did it with NFTs.
they're
Ubisoft was just all like,
yeah,
"Oh, NFTs, let me deep throat that shit."
yeah, they
And
have no
I mean, seriously,
I
they have
am
no
so
shame. Any way they can
confused
make more
about
money.
NFTs. Like, do you just create NFTs? You create your own NFTs and then you sell it?
Do you know what a hash is?
No.
we had a whole episode just strictly on NFTs, but essentially an NFT is a digital um, um, item or picture or whatever that you're saying that because it has a unique code attached to it, it's technically unique,
It's
right?
a cryptographic hash that points to a position in a blockchain, which is basically just a chain of other cryptographic hashes that says that this guy owns this piece of art.
Right.
It has none of the actual data like that represents the image itself. It's just this is the hash that represents this image. This is the person that owns it. And
So
this is the transaction record within the blockchain for it.
so just like moving to the game awards is like I don't feel like, especially when it comes to games, that game awards are a true representation of what is of innovation. You know, like fancy graphics to me is not as much innovation as giving decent and new and interesting gameplay. Like the core concept of the game, you know, that it just seems like is going more to the wayside, and we are caring more about like, are the graphics fancy, and do we have cosmetics that we can charge people for, and can we compartmentalize this game into 4 DLC packs? You know, like that is kind of how they're moving as an industry, and it sucks. It really sucks. And
Yeah.
and the last thing I'm going to say real quick before I'll open it back up again to you guys is I really was hoping that Elden Ring would not get any strong awards, and not because, I mean, I'm just gonna say I don't think Elden Ring is really much my game. I played it all the way through. I've got like 130 hours in on it, but that was because I wanted to just try to give it a chance. But now that Elden Ring has won a bunch of awards, guess what's going to happen? The fucking industry is just going to go, well, I guess we just have to make a bunch of Elden Ring clones now, as if we don't have enough
Yep.
of them. And I'm
They're
just
already
saying,
doing
like,
that.
I'm so sick and tired of the Dark Souls model. It is not, to me, a model that should be like the mainstream, that a shitload of people should just be like, oh yeah, let's go fucking just load up some Elder or some Elden Ring or some Dark Souls. That to me is just like nails on a chalkboard, because
I
it
would
just
rather
ultimately is
prefer
not that
like
great of a game when
I
it comes to the all aroundness of the game.
I rather prefer like Dead by Daylight should get a reward because honestly, I love that game. I love that game that just basically that basically supports like the horror genre. You know, like
Yeah.
no matter what. Like it can, yeah, it has licensed killers, but I love it how they make their own kind of like their own killers, like so awesome.
Yeah.
They actually created a new chapter called Forge and Fog, and it's just beautiful. Like it was
So
so beautiful. I don't get me wrong. I was excited for Wesker to be in it. That was jaw dropping, gorgeous, and it was
so so when Elden Ring came out, I played all the way through Elden Ring, beat it right away. And then right after that, I played God of War, not Ragnarok, but they finally released the first God of War on PC, the one where he is all like boy or whatever, the prequel
Yeah.
or
I thought you were gonna say
the
the Greek
Boy.
version of
Right.
it.
but
Boy,
but
McDonald's.
anyways,
Boy!
I would say so as far as of like the list of games that they provided there, I don't think there was any game other than God of War that deserved to win more than Elden Ring. Whether or not you like Elden Ring, that's personal preference, but I think as far as like a quality product and like a team that obviously cared about the game that they were making and the effort that went into it. Way more effort went into Elden Ring than any of those other games, other than maybe God of War. Now, if you're going to pit those two against each other, if God of War Ragnarok is better than the last God of War, the one that I played, then I could totally see it being a reasonable win for
To be
them.
fair,
I
I'm
mean,
hoping there's
I
gonna be like four more Norse mythologies in God of War, then go straight to Egypt.
I'm
There's things about both games I like and dislike, but I would say they're pretty on par with one another. But I could definitely see why people would prefer Ragnarok or God of War over Elden Ring and vice versa.
I
But
think that the thing that ruined it the most for me on the Elden Ring side is they and I can't speak for I played the first God of War. I don't think I beat it. I played it on PlayStation, but really have no interest in playing the this one. But it does look like a more just
yeah, more refined version of the
refined and
previous.
buttoned down game.
I mean, that was the most. So I beat God of War as well. Like I think I beat it even quicker than I did Elden Ring. But the disappointing thing about God of War for me is like when it got to the end of the game, I was like, oh, that's it, it's over, because it felt like there was supposed to be a lot more to the
Yeah.
story, and it felt like I felt like I should have only been halfway through the game. So now they're coming out with Ragnarok, and I feel like that's going to be the second half of the game. And that's, I mean, there was quite a bit of content in the first one, and so I mean, being a PC player, I kind of want to complain about having to wait 5 years for it to finally come to PC, but hopefully I won't have to wait that long for Ragnarok. But um,
Well, the other thing is like it's kind of hard to you simply can't compare the two on this level, but it kind of has a factors like the multiplayer in Elden Ring is just awful. Like it is probably the worst multiplayer. Um,
I mean,
let's just think about it.
there is no multiplayer in
I
God of
know,
War.
but I'm just
So,
saying that
Wait,
um,
I think Elder Ring do have a multiplayer. It's just that
it
people just
yeah,
does.
it does.
We've
it
played
just
a,
like people just invade you, just
yeah,
like
we played it a bunch,
any other Souls games.
and it's not even about the invasion even. So like, if there was the invasion, that annoys me personally, but I'm not gonna knock it off as like something that the game should just get less of a review for because they choose this invasion
Is
system. The thing that gets me is that they have an unintuitive system for multiplayer, period. It is just unintuitive. It's most, I would say, a lot of times, not most, but a lot of times when I'm just trying to sit here, like with my wife, go over and play some Elden Ring, we dead serious just kept beating our heads against the wall, trying to just find the stupid symbol that's on the ground so that we could summon each other, and it just they make a very unfun multiplayer experience, and then that coupled with the last bit of the game being kind of like a fake difficulty, I just really feel like I sincerely doubt that Santa Monica Studios did that. Like they probably had a finished product that they didn't rush the end of it and they didn't have like a system in it that feels so unintuitive that it feels broken. That
I
is
mean,
where I'm kind of at with the two
the only
games.
thing I'll say in defense of the multiplayer for Elden Ring, which again, that's not for everybody. I appreciate that they tried doing something different compared to like what everybody else does, because the way that their multiplayer works in their game is it's actually like uh it's because of the lore of the game. Like the way you go through and summon people into the game it's been same way they've done multiplayer in all the other games too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Dead Island
I
did that too.
And
I
And
will I will admit that they need to go through and improve on it to make
yeah.
it a better experience. But I do
but
appreciate
will
that
they?
they're not just trying to be like, well, we'll just fucking throw a lobby screen up and join a
I mean,
lobby
I
and
would
queue
I
together. And
dead serious if they set up a lobby system, I would have nothing to say about it.
hmm.
Like dead serious. Like you say, well, this is what they've done for every single one of them. Well, cars didn't used to have seatbelts, but we put them in cars, didn't we? You know what I mean? Like it's just absurd that a technology company is going to just purposely, well, this is the way we've always done it, and it's been unintuitive the entire time. Let's keep doing that, guys. I mean, it's almost like that board meeting meme. It's like, well, what if we put up a lobby screen and they throw them out the freaking the
Yeah,
window?
I was thinking of that.
But
Yeah, and also what I mean I haven't played any of the games that you guys have because I don't like play really new release games. I don't follow up on that. only play games that I feel like that would catch my interest. Like if I were to name good games that I feel like if they had, I don't know if they did because a lot of these games I've been playing were actually older. Like for example, I've been getting into the Telltale, Walking Dead, the Telltale series games. I'm currently on the third season of it, and so far, I've I've never had such a type of immersive experience with any other game than I did with the Walking Dead Telltale series.
Yeah.
And because the game is literally tailored to what choices you make.
Right.
And that I feel like that we need to like kind of bring that back to an extent, because I feel like that it actually challenges the player, because I think also players are looking for challenges too. And like personally to me, or at least that's just me, I like to be challenged. I like games that make me think. I like games that try to make me think outside the box. It makes me flex my mental muscle. And
Right.
and The Walking Dead has done that. Despite that, I don't exactly have a lot of control on what happens with the NPCs and with the character that I quote unquote play as. It still makes me think, because no matter what decision I make, I feel like that there's something bad is going to happen if I don't make this decision. And I don't, like I said, these games are older. I don't know if they actually won any awards, and if they didn't, how, because they are very good games. And not to mention, um, like I said, I never had such emotional inversion with or immersion. There was a word like for immersion with any other game than I did with The Walking Dead, because if you make a wrong decision, people literally actually fucking die, and they don't
Right.
come back. They don't.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of.
I watched a YouTuber where he purposely made all bad decisions in that game. But
yeah, and yeah, or another cool game that I like, Fire Emblem Three Houses. Why I love that game so freaking much is because it didn't focus on the cosmetics. I mean, they had a couple of cosmetic things, but however, the cosmetics actually they somewhat made a difference in the game stat wise, because when you change classes, they get like different suits of armor or different outfits or something like that
Yeah.
that you can somewhat have control over to an extent. But however, the gameplay was like super enhanced compared to the other Fire Emblem games that I played. And not to mention, like every character, you could tell they put so much thought and effort, and spared no effort in every single character they played. I mean, you have,
Unfortunately,
let's see,
JRPGs are dead.
what's that?
JRPGs as a game type are essentially kind of dead in the industry right now. Like you don't make
JRPGs.
Japanese RPGs, and Fire Emblem is a
Oh,
well-known Japanese based RPG.
wasn't there one that
oh,
just came out, like Xeno Chronicles or some shit?
Even those don't pull in the numbers that I mean JRPGs were like in their heyday in the early 2000s, and then they kind of just have slowly but surely kind of declined as far as like game type. But I'm just saying I'm not disagreeing with you that it's a I haven't played it, but I'm just saying that they just don't make the money anymore.
One
There's
one thing
million
one
and
thing
one
else
JRPGs out there.
one thing I'll say about the Telltale games is I think the concept was pretty cool when it first came out, but
Yeah.
they just kept churning those fucking things
Yeah,
out,
there's like a billion of
and
them now.
then and then also Telltale doesn't exist anymore because they went
yeah, they went
bankrupt,
bankrupt.
and then also they were just basically abusing the shit out of their employees. They were just like pretty much like all that controversy you hear about like crunch time and stuff like that with other
Yeah.
companies and overworking their employees. Telltale was one of those companies that just was
Jeez.
like you may as well just bring a sleeping bag to the office because we gotta crank out this fucking visual
Right.
novel here.
All right. Well,
Mm.
we have pined on the games for a bit, and we have a few more articles, so I'm going to do a hard stop there. I know there's a little bit more conversation, but we've got a couple other articles to get to before the end of the podcast. But overall, I think that we have generally the same kind of ideas of there's too many of like certain practices in the industry, and it seems like, the awards follow that hand in hand, and it kind of sucks because there's a lot better games out there that don't get a lot of recognition. Like, I would love to see a like that Lemnis Gate. Remember we played that Lemnis Gate game
Yeah.
that had like the time, and nobody plays that game.
I would rather
And it
see
was
Dead.
innovative.
I would rather see Dead by Daylight get some recognition. That again,
I'm pretty sure it got good recognition when it first came out, but that game's been out for a while. Dead by Daylight's been out for years and years.
Actually, I know you said hard stop, but if we're gonna talk about a game that has kind of a pain in the ass multiplayer mode, Dead by Daylight does actually. But otherwise it's a really good game.
dude. Honestly, I heard there was gonna be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, and I just can't wait for that.